Alright, we just want to make a short training video on how to put callers on the air using our new phone system and our new Telos system. So if you're doing a call-in show, the first thing you want to check before the show starts, a few different things. First, make sure that both Telos lines are off. So here's the off button, the second one from the right on each line. When you press it, this red light should be on. You can't transfer a call to one of these lines on the Telos system unless this is off. So that's one of the most important things to check, is make sure that this is off on both lines, or whichever one you're going to use. Now let's look at the board. The things you want to make sure to check on the board: first, make sure that both phone lines have the red light on for their slider. Also make sure that both phone lines have the program light on up here to make sure that the call is going to go to the program channel. Also up here, you'll notice these say do not push on the auxiliary. The reason for that is everything with the auxiliary light pressed, the caller will hear when they're on the line. So we don't want the ones for the phone lines pressed, because otherwise it'll send a feedback of themselves over the phone and you get a feedback loop. So all the auxiliaries should be pressed except for the two phone lines. So just make sure the program lights are lit for the phone lines. One other thing to check on the telephone is to make sure that the Do Not Disturb feature is not on. When the Do Not Disturb feature is active, here's the button here that makes it active. You'll see a little signal here that says DND active. When that's active, you will not be able to get calls on this phone. So make sure that this DND active message is not there. If it is, just hit the DND button down in the lower right here and it'll go off. So what you should see on the phone is the snome.com signal. So those are several things to check before you start your call-in show. Now once you're ready to take calls, when a call comes in, the screener will answer the phone, and there are some steps that we've labeled 1, 2, and 3 that need to be taken to get the caller on the air. So the first step, we'll demonstrate those in a second. The first step is to transfer the caller to the appropriate line on the Telos device. So when you're talking to the person on the phone, the first thing you want to do when you're ready to put them to the Telos line is hit the transfer button. Once you hit the transfer button, then you can pick between on-air 1 and on-air 2 which Telos line that you want to transfer them to. So these correspond to phone 1 and phone 2 on the Telos. We used to have it in the instructions that you had to hit the check mark. You don't actually have to hit the check mark. We found out it shouldn't hurt anything, but you don't have to hit the check mark. So once the screener has transferred the caller to the Telos system by hitting transfer and then the appropriate line, then the engineer needs to put the caller on air by hitting the on button on the appropriate Telos line. So if the caller was transferred to on-air 1 or phone 1, then to put the caller on the air, the engineer needs to hit on, which we've marked here as number 3, and then also pop this slider up for phone 1. So those are the two things that the engineer needs to do after the call has been transferred to the Telos line. When the call is over and the engineer wants to disconnect, slide the pot back down, but very important, you also need to hit off on the Telos system, or else you won't be able to transfer another call here. So be sure that this goes back off before you want to accept another call. So we'll demonstrate that now. We're going to have Norm call into the phone, and then we'll transfer the caller to the Telos line. And then instead of putting the caller on air, we're just going to put them into queue. So when the call comes in, we'll see that this flash comes up here. This says anonymous. We can talk later about whether you want to block anonymous calls, but for now they're able to come in, pick up the phone and screen the call, make sure that the person is calling in for the show, they have the right number, they want to be on the air. So assuming that you're ready to park this call on the Telos line, Again, the first thing you do is hit transfer. Next thing you do is choose the line that you want to transfer to. So we'll transfer to on-air 1 or phone 1. Then you'll see disconnected. That just means the caller was disconnected from the 5534 line so that other calls can come into the 5534 line. But they are transferred to the line for the telos system. So now when the host is ready to put the caller on the air, they will hit the on button and pot up the slider. So again, instead of potting up the slider, we're just going to do it into queue. So the third step here is we hit on and take the phone 1 into queue. All right, Norm, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
All right, so then when you're finished with the call, you will pot the slider back down and be sure to hit the off button. We've also got, with the instructions, we've got some troubleshooting posted. If you have a problem with it, you can email me at ebar@kcwebprogrammers.com and just try to give me as much detail about what happened, at what step in the process you felt that something went wrong, if the caller got disconnected, whatever the issue was, please try to give me as much detail as possible. Thanks.